John, I gotta go back.
Just give me the
that's okay.
Yeah.
Any questions after our first practice here?
Day one. I mean, your expectations to kind of live
Look,
up to.
I said yesterday, I thought, we handled the test well, the conditioning test. I thought these guys, today moved around. I think the weather, we've got a good stretch here where, it's been a little milder. I think the setup for the fans is outstanding. I was really excited to see how much that's come along, just, creating the shade and it's come a long way. You used to sit out there and all I heard was the beer man selling beers. That was your only way to get cool. But no, everything was good here this first practice.
Coach, the pads don't come on for another day.
Yeah.
But Emmanuel Butler, what do you want to see out of him once the pads do come on? Because he looked pretty good out there today.
Yeah, look, I would agree with you. He's someone we've noticed. So, continued, advancing in what we're doing, understanding the system and terminology, minimizing the mistakes. That's half of it. It's hard to evaluate players if they're inconsistent in their assignment or they don't know what to do. It's hard to get a proper evaluation. So, that's why this installation now starts again like it does, and we kind of begin to replicate, although we've got more practice time than we had in the spring, but begin to replicate a situational install that we work on.
Sean, what's the first day of training camp like for you just personally? I mean, did you get especially amped up for?
It's a big transition in that, you go from the time away and you kind of know that last week of vacation, what's on the horizon. It's, almost like that you're getting ready to get on an aircraft carrier for 6 or 7 months. And but yeah, there's a level of excitement. There's also a level of here we go, let's go. If you're not careful, it can sometimes occupy your last week and a half of vacation. And but it's good to see guys came back. I think overall, I was pleased with how yesterday went. We made some renovations to the facility again in a different area. Those turned out outstanding in the team meeting rooms. So all of that stuff is good. And and again, I comment on. I really like the setup here for training camp, and I think it's an important part of what we do. And I think anytime you open your camp like most teams do, I think it's a chance for the fans to see you practice. And
Sean, looking at when you're trying to execute the screenplay, it looks like the defense all over it a couple of times. Do you get a better look with pads on, or?
Yeah, there's some coverage looks that aren't as attractive, and so we're early enough in the install. We're not necessarily checking out us, but there's some looks that you get where you just got to ground it. You know, in a perfect world, you're catching a spot drop zone, you know, with a rush call. Then as you get into the season, you try to minimize and maybe prioritize. All right, this is the look. This is the look. If not, let's get to something else and not waste a play. So. It's good for the defense. The guys that really, I think, end up impacting the screens seasonally are the two inside defensive tackles. Those are the guys that can make screens difficult. You know, when they feel the guard get light, and then they all of a sudden key the back. You know, it's a little harder on the ends, and sometimes a little bit more challenging for the second level players. But when your tackles become aware of how it feels different, those guys can really help with the traditional slow screens.
With Alvin entering his third year, is this when we finally get to see him unleashed in this offense?
You didn't just ask that question. You can't even follow. Yeah, we're going to unleash Alvin this year. Yeah. It's going to be a new weapon.
But I mean.
No, fair enough. You know, how many more things? Look, I think he's an exceptional runner. I think he's very good as a receiver, and so generally, when you have a running back like that, it's not difficult to get him touches because you can turn and hand him the ball on occasion, and you can put him into the route. And but he has that skill set where he does a lot of things well, and the counterbalance to that is, you know, making sure you maintain that proper number of touches, and so I think more importantly, the other touches that aren't necessarily Alvin's, you know, whether they're coming from Murray or whoever's in the game, I think that's going to be an important part of what we do.
So that workload will we'll see that increase.
It'll be similar as we've been seeing. You know, we've been pleased with the balance we've had with him. I mean, we think it's been a good count.
Jared Cook, good as advertised?
Well, look, we just finished our first practice. We saw enough in the spring to see the size and the stature and some of the challenges it is to cover him. I think so. He's picked things up quickly, and you know, he's another target, especially if we're getting, you know, coverage rotated on the weak side.
Sean, when one of your main guys is here, not necessarily Michael Thomas, but when one of the guys is here, does it change a lot for you? How much did that change?
It hadn't happened recently. You know, after the last CBA, when you look at generally it was a rookie back in the day, you know, and it might take 4 days or 3 days, and but after the slotted assignments, that quickly kind of went away, and so I don't think the topic of holdouts are as significant today as they were 10 years ago. I mean, I can recall being in camp with the Giants, waiting on Shockey, you know, 4 days, 5 days. It was just a lot more prevalent then. So, look, I envision at some point they'll get that number worked out, and until then, you know, we work on who's here.
Sean, it looks like the ice box is more formal. It doesn't look like it come off a freight train.
So here's what happened, though. The old one, it's the same kind of unit. The old one, you all entered from the one, just the one end. If you had a little claustrophobic problem, then you had a problem because it was dark and you had to go all the way back. And then so I think someone made a couple renovations, and it's more like a dugout now. And yet it's cold and effective, and we didn't need it as much today, but there'll be the right time for that, especially the linemen.
Sean, did Zion say he wants to get some pads, or what did he say about that?
My whole thing with him, when I told him this wasn't about football, this is just another shoe deal, another jersey deal. 2 days of practice is all we need. We get another shoe deal. Doesn't have to be as big as the last shoe deal. Another jersey deal. Put them in another number. It was good meeting some of those guys.
Sean, are you up to snuff on the tweaks that they made to the rule change with the?
Yeah, there weren't many tweaks. So I am, because I'm on that committee. Basically, last month, a month and a half ago, they wanted to revisit now with all the staffs that had a chance to digest the change. And the discussion was really, are we ready and certain we want to handle it inside 2 minutes, like all replay? And the decision was yes. And then it was, all right, specifically guidelines for that replay assistant so that he's not pushing the button and stopping 6 plays every time you're inside 2 minutes. And I think we worked through that with the clubs, league office, and the committee. And yeah, I think, look, you want to make sure to explain it to the fan, it's like every other replay. You know, above 2 minutes, the coach has a challenge flag. We haven't changed how many challenge flags we have. I don't think you're going to see more challenges. In fact, I think you'll see maybe less, just because you're going to want to hold on for a bigger call now, maybe more than just an 8-yard gain. But that's up to the coach. And then inside 2 minutes, you have to have a timeout now. But inside 2 minutes, you know, replay can handle something. And that format doesn't change. We've just added 2 penalties to it.
I wanted to ask about yesterday, Belichick's using Danny Etling, kind of a receiver. Do you think what you did with Taysom, I know that's not anything new. I mean, there's been Wildcat guys, but do you think that's going to way this game's going?
No, I think it's all player related. I mean, what Bill's done with Etling is not a surprise at all, because it wasn't too long ago he was doing that with Edelman, quarterback out of the MAC conference, you know, that ran pretty well, good athlete, and so the uniqueness with Taysom is strictly that, you know, he is a quarterback, and what he's doing on special teams, and he's a different body type than the receiver slash quarterback. You know, he's more of a tight end F, and he's really good at it. So, yeah, I mean, the lesson's always like, man, there's good football players, and it's creating the right vision for them. Sometimes we spend too much time on what they can't do and not enough time on what they can do. And I think that's a lesson for all of us.
Coach, how's that battle between the centers, McCoy and Easton? Just obviously it's early, but
yeah, I mean, it'll be something that, you know, that'll be important, that we're going to have a chance to evaluate. And, but you know, after the first practice, you know.
Coach, going back to what Jeff talked about, the challenge, is that something you and the other coaches, Pete, and drill on a lot this time of year with all the new rules?
Not yet. I mean, look, if it's something that the player can control, essentially, look, we're going to have the ability with, and I look at it like, you know, an egregious offensive pass interference that happens against us, that you got to get confirmation now. Again, you're only given 2 of these things. So you see something obvious, you throw a flag, and hey, you see something that maybe should have been called, you throw your challenge flag, and then anytime there's a challenge, it goes to New York. You understand that. It doesn't, the replay guy upstairs is kind of like we are inside of 2 minutes. If he stops it, it goes to New York. So we'll get specifically into the officials when they come here in 5 days or 6 days. They'll talk about that with the team. I think more importantly, you know, we're not changing offensive or defensive pass interference, so it's not like we're coaching a different technique. It's just what's going to happen if there is a challenge.
I want the narrative, you're going to roll your eyes, I know, but the hangover we've heard the last 2 years, y'all had heartbreaking losses. I know you've been asked a bunch.
Well, it was the same question that was asked last year, though.
Right, I know.
And so, look, it's important that the team moves on, but honestly, and you know me well enough to know that regardless of what just took place last season relative to your team, success, failure, high success, you know, a lot of failure, you know, the league's set up in a fashion where you're drafting accordingly, your schedule's accordingly. We've got a tough schedule that we're going to have to play, especially early on when you look at our first 4 games. But that's where they're at, you know, and so we look more specifically at how, the travel, what are our best ways to handle the schedule. But this is a young, resilient team. We're going to hit more adversity. Shoot, that won't be the last time.
Do you feel like the process alone kind of eliminates carryover from year to year? The fact that you just start in the, Dennis Green used to say, the valley of 0-0. You're back down the valley now, and just the process of getting ready.
And I think the other thing that's a little different than 20 years ago, you know, where you might only have 6 new players that make a team, the turnover is greater. And so this is a different team. I mean, shoot, there's a lot of new faces, guys that have gone on. It's a new team. And yeah, and then the schedule and all those other things, you know, they don't wait for anyone. Those are things that, so we really focus on more of the things we can control.
So you're not going to bury some kind of casket out here from last year?
No.
Sean, is it something that you
I've done
plan-
that before. It wasn't effective, but
Is it something that you plan during the years? I know it's relationship with different coaches, but who you practice against, like for instance, the Patriots, look at the Chargers, they're all contenders. You know, it's not like we practice against a team that's 3-13.
I think there's a couple things that go into that. Number one, Anthony and I worked together for 2 years at Dallas, so I know him well. We know their staff well. Our exposure and experience the first time was a real good one, and then it also provides a climate change. You know, at the right time, where all of a sudden you get out of the humidity for 4 or 5 days, and so it's just worked. And I know they feel like they've gotten something from it, and yeah, they're one of the top AFC teams, and so that's good when you're putting two good teams together, and there's an understanding of what we're trying to get out of these 3 days. We're trying to improve each other, and we're not on the schedule, and if we end up playing each other, there's only one way that happens, and I'm sure both teams would be happy about it.
Coach, obviously with Mike's not here, but the wide receivers, what have you kind of seen out of that group, especially maybe some of them getting some extra reps with Mike not here?
Yeah, you don't notice the reps so much because we're at 12. We've got some experience in there with Ted and Traquan, and look, Kirkwood's been here a year. Austin, same way. It's a smart group. Some of these younger guys are doing well. So, watching the whole practice and the back end of those reps, of those drills, I thought some of those guys today looked pretty good.
A big picture tight end question about the position and its evolution. There's a narrative that says it's become much more receiver oriented. At the same time, I've seen coaches like you value in certain formations a traditional tight end. So what exactly is?
Well, I would say this, man. For us, it's important in the run game to have someone that can block at that position. I mean, I would argue it's important for anyone to run the football consistently, or to what you want to do with your scheme. It's important. But I'd also say that the receiving tight end, the guy that can stretch the defense inside, and so look, in a perfect world, you're getting one of these guys that does both things very well, so that there's not that predictability when one's on the field or the other. But yeah, I don't know that that much has changed. Now, where we're getting the player from, maybe there's some guys we've gotten from basketball, but I don't know that much has changed relative to being able to run the ball and then also effectively throw the ball. The ones that you'll see that end up in the Hall of Fame are probably guys that did both pretty well.
I mean, it's hard.
All right, thank you guys.
Coach,
good morning then.
Cam, you got some new custom-made socks.
I don't know where these came from. I don't know if I ordered them. I don't know if a fan sent them to me. I don't know. I don't think I ordered them, but they dope though. I woke up and I had a box just sitting in my locker. I said, today's a good day. God blesses everybody. And at this point, I'm blessed and highly favored. I took the field today. We're in helmets, yay. We're one day closer to pads, and pads is where we start really fine-tuning the craft. So I'm excited about it.
Cam, do you understand the situation Mike Thomas found himself in? It's kind of the business side of things.
Yeah, it's the business side of football. Everybody has to understand their own situation, and at the end of the day, you want to be valued by your team, not only your team, but you have a value within yourself, and you know what you can get and what you want, and that's for two sides to come together to agreement. I'm going to focus on being the best I can be. I'm going to wish Mike T the best that he can be, and I know he's out there working somewhere. Whatever field he's taken to, he's always taken with the same mentality. So I'm really not stressed about that situation. I'll leave that to the organization and Mike T.
Have you had the chance to talk to him, offer him support or anything like that, or text messages?
That's about all I got for you right now, big fella. In terms of that situation, that's strictly between the player and the organization, and when he takes the field, we'll be happy to have my man going full go.
With the potential where this team can go, how frustrating is it that one of the key players isn't here? And that's what we're talking about is the whole.
What's frustrating about knowing Mike T's work ethic? We all know he works hard. He gives 100% every play, whether that's in practice, in a walkthrough. I've seen this man break a tremendous sweat. I'm not worried about any of it. Until Drew gets worried, I'm not worried. That's a question for a quarterback, not a defensive end. I just want to hit a quarterback.
So Cam, going from this season, last season to this season, have you maybe a couple of tidbits, enlightened Davenport to help out his game?
Absolutely, but Marcus is always yearning to learn, and when you have the ability that he does, and you have that same mental aptitude to try and get better every day, that's where you sort of separate yourself, and I think he's doing that this year.
How good could he be?
I don't know how to gauge that. Would he go 0 to 100? 100. I don't know. We talk about does he have potential to be an elite player? Absolutely. When you talk about just how tall he is, his arm span, you talk about his first couple steps. He's a fast kid for his size, and he's growing into a grown man. So I'm excited about that year 1 to year 2 leap as always. Don't all talk at once, huh?
I'll ask you a big picture question about. We're getting a lot of talk about Drew just turning 40. How much do you got left?
I don't know. Between him and Tom Brady, at this point, it's just a battle of attrition, right? They're just seeing who's going to outlast the other. They're going to play till they're 50, 55. And throwing technique's still there. Intermediate routes is always going to be there. The mind is what sets them apart. And there's not too many minds like Drew Brees. So, until he decides to set him up, we're always happy to have one of the best to do it.
You don't see any decline in his performance at all?
You've probably got a better view than I do. I'm sitting waiting for this next defensive series, and you're sitting wherever you're sitting.
Way up high.
Yeah, you got a bird's eye view. So you tell me. When I see it, I see one of the greatest to take the field and a leader on offense that's never really failed us.
Cam, when you look at the defense, number 2 against the run, 4th in sacks as a team. Do you think you definitely can build upon that, or where are you at?
Absolutely.
Spaces and everything?
Absolutely. It's cool to be all that, but I want to be the best defense on the field, and that's all encompassing. So we've got some areas in our defense we want to strengthen, and at the same time, this is day one. We're building our foundation right now, and we've got to become a more cohesive unit within the next couple of days. And against our offense, we have every ability to try out and be the best we can be against them.
How much has Sheldon missed out here, and do you feel confident in the guys who are stepping in that DT role? I
don't know if he can replace what Sheldon brought last year. I don't know how long he's out for. That's an organization question, not a Cam Jordan question. But I do know that I saw some of his rehabs yesterday, and I know we're headed in the right direction. So when we talk about when he takes the field again, I'll be overly excited to see my guy lined up inside. But until then, I feel like David Onyemata, Mario Edwards, we brought in Ziggy Hood, we got Malcolm Brown. We've got a strong interior. So we also have Trey Henderson who can flex down and create some mismatches. So until he gets back, I think we're pretty strong on the interior side of the line.
Cam, what have you seen from Eric McCoy? I know you don't go up against him a lot, but what has he done?
That's the center.
Yes.
That's the rookie.
Yes.
That's the rookie center.
What has he done just to impress you as a seasoned vet?
Snap the ball. What do offensive linemen? Okay, that's another question. Okay, he's doing great, phenomenal. At the end of the day, as long as he gets the ball to Drew, I think that's his job. I haven't seen too many fumbles from his side, but we are creating them. Takeaway game.
You might have already answered this, but from the day Marcus Davenport reported to camp last year to right now, does he look different to you as a player?
Absolutely. I mean, when he first got to us, he was 250 pounds. He was raw, talented, still trying to pick up the game. And I mean, he's still picking up the game, but he's done it at such a rapid pace. You saw his growth within the season until he had the little toe injury. Toe Mangini over there, coming back healthy this year, and you see how explosive he can be. You can see the talents that he possesses and ability that he has that can create some havoc in the backfield, and that's all you're looking for is a partner in crime.
Anyone else?
Going once, going twice. Okay.
Yeah,
have a blessed one.
Can't appreciate it.
Bro, I have no idea. I don't even know where you go to get these, but I like them.
We made the Power Rangers thing.
One of my animators.
Nice.
I got a team now. I got
talk about how that is? Right
Yeah, I mean, contract is part of this game, our contract negotiations, and so we'll let this play out, but confident that there'll be an agreement reached at some point, and when there does, then he'll be back and we'll be ready to roll.
What are your impressions so far with Emmanuel Butler? I know you had a good chance to work with, and I know the
Yeah.
pads haven't come on yet, but
Yeah.
like today he kind of like stood out there.
Yeah, he just keeps making plays when he's given opportunities. He's a big physical looking target. So, he's got a big catch radius, so you feel confident throwing to a guy like that because there's a lot of places you can throw it where he has an opportunity at it. Plus, he's big physical, good body control. So just look forward to working with him more and seeing what he might be able to offer.
Through another year, do you still get excited for the first day of training?
Yeah, absolutely. This is this is where it all truly begins. You obviously work very hard during the off season on certain things. Whether that be on your own, and then as that transitions into OTAs and mini camp. But here we are, training camp. This is where you really start, stacking those bricks, so to speak, to build the foundation by which we're going to be able to do great things this year.
Drew, how would you describe the way Alvin is? A couple guys have been talking about how he's like a A-list celebrity, but he kind of would never really know it just being around him personally.
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty low-key personality. He's a fun-loving guy. There's never really a time where I don't see a smile on his face, where he doesn't look like he's just enjoying being around the guys in the locker room, or, I mean, just little things out here on the field. Like, you watch us during just what you'd call just a really fundamental quarterback, running back exchange period where we're just working on footwork and timing with run plays and such, and yet after our rep, we'll play catch, we mess around with option pitches, and he's smiling, laughing, and we're goofing around a little bit, but it's a way to break up the monotony, but it's also just shows that, listen, this is a game, and we're going to enjoy it, we're going to have fun, we enjoy being around each other. When it's time to work, it's time to work, when it's time to have fun, we can have fun doing it as well.
Drew, you guys spread the ball around so much traditionally. What changed with Michael Thomas and just the volume? Is it about him? Is it about the offense?
Well, he's a really versatile player, so it's not like he just lines up in one place and everybody can target him, right? We move him around a lot and allow him to do a lot of different things. Now, it wasn't always like that. In his first year here, when he, I think, began to show that he could have that dominant type, or be that dominant type feature guy, he was really kind of in one spot at the time, and we really limited what we did with him at that time. But, as he's gotten into this offense, and I think as his understanding and confidence and comfort level with it has grown, it allows us to put him in a lot of places, which I think he understands too. That's just going to give him more opportunities. So credit to him, and then credit to our staff and what we're able to do creatively to put him in positions to get the ball.
At the same time, does he get about as much double coverage as you've ever seen from a receiver that you've worked with? Because
yeah, I mean, there were some game plans this year that just, were pretty unbelievable as far as just the amount of attention, right? The amount of respect, really. But the message I send to other guys when that happens is that just opens up opportunities for you, right? And then the better that you can then perform, right, and take advantage of those opportunities, the more that then it forces teams to get out of that, and then it's going to open up the mic opportunities again. And so those are complementary, right? They work together.
Is that a big part of having Jared Cook
Absolutely.
out here too,
Yeah.
opening up opportunities for everybody else?
Absolutely. When you can have a dominant outside guy, slot, someone who plays inside, whether it be a tight end or a slot, and then someone coming out of the backfield. Just think about what a defense, how that challenges a defense. Because at the end of the day, you can't double all those guys, right? And so you're going to have one-on-ones, you're going to have matchups, and defenses are going to try to mix it up, and at times they're going to take some chances, and when they do, you're ready for it, and you try to take advantage of those, exploit those.
Drew, when you bring in a player like Jared, what's the process like for you to start getting synchronized with him? Is it just time on task and reps? I mean, take us through that a little bit and how you get ready for the season.
It's time on task and reps, because as much as you sit there and you can watch film, right, and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing and you're seeing, and or just talk through it, it doesn't replicate the deep practice, or just kind of that element that just sinks in once it actually happens for real on the field. So to give you an example, there was a play that happened on the field today that we talked about back during OTAs, but it just hadn't happened yet, and it happened in practice today, and our ability to execute it and then to talk about it after, it now has become, you know, kind of like that myelin that's wrapped around the nerve ending now in your body. Like it's there, right? Like it happened, you saw it, you felt it, we executed it, and so now when that comes up again, there's that confidence level, and just that knowing that, hey, we've done this, we've executed it. And so you need those things to occur, right? You can't just talk about it, you can't just, you know, look at it on film. You got to go out and actually feel it and do it. And so the more the camp goes on, I'm hoping that there's a couple of those each day, right? So that by the time, you know, the real games come around, then, you know, we've got all that stuff kind of, you know, logged away.
Drew, when the subtleties of, say, how he runs a route is, I assume, different than Kobe Fleener or Jimmy Graham, even though you all probably run the same routes for some tight ends, does that take time to learn?
Yeah, it does. It's just the nuances, right? Like I can draw a route on paper, but then I can show you 3 different coverages where you're running that route 3 different ways, right? And so it's just our understanding of seeing and feeling the same thing. And then just the trust that, hey, I know he's going to be there, right, as that ball's coming out, and he knows the ball's going to be there. He knows the timing at which it's going to be there. He knows when he's got to speed it up. He knows when he can be patient.
Drew, I don't know if we've talked to your game before next Saturday, but what was it like going up against Ed Reed?
Ed Reed? Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, truly one of those guys that you had to know where he was. And he was in the middle of the field majority of the time, right? Because he was just such a ball hawk safety and had such great feel and instincts. And, you know, balls that you could throw and fit in against everybody else, you know that just wasn't going to happen against Ed Reed unless he was way out of the picture, right? But I remember early on in my career watching film on him, and the ball would be snapped and the quarterback would maybe be just a couple steps into his drop, and Ed Reed would just go. He'd go somewhere, right? And you say, what is he looking at? And all of a sudden, here's the quarterback, he's looking, ball's thrown, and he's there to make the play, and it's like, but he wasn't supposed to be there, right? And so from a quarterback's perspective, it's frustrating, because you're like, you know, at the snap, I looked forward, and he was there, and then I looked over here, and he wasn't supposed to be there, right? So it's just that knowledge and understanding of the game, just a great feel for the game, extreme intelligence, and then playmaking ability. Like when he got the ball in his hands, what is he? I think he's got the most interception return yards in NFL history, if I'm not mistaken. So when he got it in his hands, he was dangerous. I mean, he was truly like a punt returner at that point. So one of the greatest safeties of all time.
Drew, how much do you embrace coaching at this point in your career, given you've seen probably basically everything, and
yeah.
I mean, you may know things before even a coach, say, recognizes something. I mean, how do you still embrace that at this point in your career?
Well, that's the fun part in a lot of ways, and you know that's what keeps you young. And also I feel like I've lived it so many times that I know the way it's supposed to look. I know the way it's supposed to feel. I know the timing, and so as I sit there and I communicate that to a young guy, I can sit there and just tell him story after story about rep after rep that would, you know, back that up, and then we have the chance to go out there and rep it together. And I like to think, you know, when those guys listen to me and I'm telling stories about, you know, this rep with Marcus Colston, or this rep with Jimmy Graham, or this rep with Lance Moore, whoever it might have been, right? That, you know, there's some credibility there, right? Like, okay, you know, I saw what you guys in that offense was able to do when you were clicking on all cylinders, and all these guys want to be part of something like that again.
What about the other way around? You being coached, how much do you
yeah.
embrace that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. By no means have I arrived, you know. I had a coach tell me, as long as you're green, you will continue to grow, but as soon as you are ripe, you will soon be rotten, right? So as soon as you think you know it all, you're done, right? So I'm still green. I still got things to learn.
Drew, when you review the way last December, January, the production was really drastically different from the first 3 months of the season. What did you attribute it to? Could you put your finger on anything that changed for you in the passing offense, I guess?
No. You know, we weren't as efficient. Just missed on some things, you know, that should have been, you know, routine stuff, and maybe didn't catch some of the breaks that we were catching early. But No, nothing major.
What about this offseason? Is there anything you particularly decided to focus on? I know you always want to figure out how you can stay fresh, especially as you go into year 19. But what was sort of the key for you this offseason?
That's really what it is. It's just finding ways to stay young, feel young, recover, be as efficient. Just be as efficient as possible. Having the body operate as efficient as possible. Doing all the little things that are going to help me be as accurate as possible, be as quick as possible, just all those little things.
There's so much talk about people assume there will be a drop-off at a certain age because history says there's always been a drop-off at a certain age. Do you try to study, try to figure out what the signs would be, how you can combat it? How do you concern yourself with the concept of a drop-off?
Yes. No, I study all that stuff. Again, I feel like I'm pretty aware of what you lose with the aging process, right? And so everything I do from a training perspective, recovery perspective, is to combat that, right? And so you just try to stay ahead of that curve, right? Stay ahead of that curve. And so far, it feels. I feel like I'm beating it.
Along that same vein, with Mike's line of question, Coach Payton appeared on the Rich Eisen show a couple of days ago, and he was actually asked about the last month of the season and you. What do you say to the critics when they're looking at, well, his stats are different from the first half of the season? What happened in the last half?
Well, were we winning?
You were winning.
Okay. We just weren't beating people 48-7. Okay. Listen,
Drew, did injuries come into play, like the whole line? That you don't think? I know you want to use that as an excuse, but
no. No, I mean, no excuses. I mean, you go from what, the first 12 weeks were we breaking every record known to man?
Right.
I mean, so we were playing at a crazy level, right? And so maybe we just came back down to more of a human level.
Drew.
We were still winning games, winning tight games, right? So in a way, I felt like that was helping us grow as a team more than blowing people out.
Last question, guys. There's like 14 receivers out here. I mean, obviously Mike's not here, but being able to see all these guys, what have you kind of seen from the wide receiver group so far, and who are some of the guys that kind of stepped up and shown themselves so far in camp?
Well, it's day one, right? But I think actually with Mike not being here, it's given a lot of guys an opportunity, to get a lot of reps, to see a lot of balls, and so I think we've got a lot of receiver positions that are kind of up for grabs, and some key positions, some key roles, that are really going to help this football team be vital for this football team. So I'm excited to see these guys work and compete and get a little bit better each day. They're young, they're enthusiastic. And so that's the fun part for me and probably the big challenge for me coming into camp is seeing how all that's going to come together, and who's going to fill those roles.
And Drew, having a veteran like Rashard Matthews,
yeah.
I mean, he just got here in minicamp. It seems like he's really picked up things quick.
Yeah, veteran guys, there's obviously a polish and a savvy. They've been around, so they understand the game. And the systems they've been in, hey, you're doing some similar stuff, you just call it something different, right? And so then it just becomes a mental thing to memorize maybe the verbiage or the terminology. But we spent some time together in July as well, and so I feel like it doesn't take long for me to get on the same page with veteran guys. Just because again, there's some savvy there. I guess.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Drew.
No, what the fuck?
just saying. That doesn't bother me. Just got this shirt.
Yeah, we won't put that on.
How was it out there today?
It was good being out there with the guys, running around having fun, just building our culture. And we just hit the ground running today and go out there and just make some plays and have fun with it.
Do you feel like that DB room is, maybe just because of some of the additions and also because guys are healthy, it's a little bit deeper this year?
For sure. We're back healthy. We all know each other. It's a young group, but it's a wise group because we play a lot of ball together. And I guess it's a heady group, so it's out there just having fun, just holding each other accountable, and just going out there just making plays, and just building on what we've been building.
And then Marshawn was talking to us earlier. He mentioned that he, can't call himself a young guy anymore. You notice kind of a shift in like his mentality?
For sure. Just him in the film study and how he just absorbed his game, how smart a player he is, and how he recognized formations, and he knowing the situation. It's just he's calling out plays sometimes before the safety, and that's real big for him. And that's just being as a corner, just knowing what the safety, how you think like a safety. So it's really big.
Well, is this something tangible that you guys can fix this training camp to not get off to that slow start, maybe like y'all had last year?
For sure, that's what we was talking about last night in the first meeting that we had, and that was the whole mentality with Coach Payton with us. Hit the ground running, and just coming out full blazing, having fun with each other. That's why I said having fun with this. Minimize mistakes. Just go out there, make it simplified, and just play fast.
From a DB perspective, you notice when Mike's not out there?
Sometimes. We know his presence at sometimes, and where he's backside X and everything. But yeah, we know. We know.
Just miss having him out?
For sure. I love going against him, competing. He's a brother, and for sure.
As players, you kind of understand the situation that he's going through, and it's one of those where, it's pretty much, hey, handle your business, do what you got to do, and then.
For sure, I know say so. So everybody just take care of themselves, and everything will work out at the end. The man above will take care of it.
Evan, just playing the position you play, how much did Ed Reed just influence you? He's going to the Hall of Fame next week.
Man, it's huge. Me just talking to him, picking his brain, it's really huge. How he simplified the game for me, and how he played out there, and how he set the standard being a safety. So it's very huge, and I can't wait for that night, for the inauguration and everything. And I'm really looking forward to it.
What made him who he was? What made him?
He's a special individual, man. How he knows the game before the plays happen. He's just playing the game just slowed down in his head, and how he just him and Ray and all the back end, they meshed together. It's like a brotherhood, and how they held each other accountable. It was just that culture they built.
What have you kind of seen out of that wide receiver? There's 14 guys out there right now. What have you kind of seen so far? You kind of made some noise. You kind of noticed anybody yet?
Yeah. It's early. It's only the first day, so when we get the pass on, that's when you start seeing everybody separate themselves.
On paper, how different is the defensive secondary compared to when you stepped in?
Very different, man. We have a very special group, man. A whole bunch of leaders in the group, and we hold everybody accountable. Man, it's a total transition, total 360.
Well, what's it like when you're just driving up to the facility today, just knowing that we're starting training camp?
I got a little butterflies, listen to my gospel music, get my day going. I knew we were going to have fun, have plays, because we always competing against each other in the room, too. And just going out there, just having fun with the guys, going out there with AG, Pete, and Lee, and just going out there with the group, in the back end with DeMario, Craig, and AJ, and Alex, and that whole back end, man. I can't wait to drive to work there every day. I get pumped up, pulling up.
Gardner Johnson stood out in rookie camp. Of course, he's going against a lot of guys who also had never played before, but as you've gotten to know him since then, what kind of sense do you get of his potential to be part of your group?
He's gonna be a unique individual because he's just like me. How he can play everywhere, just slide everywhere, be very versatile. He's soaking up a lot. He's learning a lot, and he's just eager to get on the field and just get out there and make plays for us.
Is there anything about him that makes you think he can contribute sooner than later, or is there a process he has to go through?
Yes, I do. I think that something about him is he's hungry, and that's what you want in a young player. He has that fire in his eye. You want that to go out there and just show it, improve himself. That's what he wants to do, and I'm very excited for him.
Going up against Drew Brees, 19 years in the league, it doesn't look like he's slowing down. Talk about this guy.
Man, he's the GOAT. That's all I can tell you. I think he found a fountain of youth. He doesn't slow down, and he's the most ultimate competitor, and it just makes us better every day going against a Hall of Fame player like that. And if we mess him up, that's a great job. And we can mess up the whole league because now everybody's him. And just going against him every day makes the back end better, and that's what we look forward to every day.
Anything else, folks? Perfect. Appreciate it.
Sure, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.